Well, welcome to our training session on the Sterngold TRU Implant System. I'm Jim Ellison, and I'm the Technical and Education Department Head here at Sterngold. And we're recording this because we had a little trouble with some technical difficulties with the live presentation the other day. So, what we want to talk about is how we at Sterngold have come up with a new implant system. You'll notice on this slide it does not only show the TRU implant, but it also shows the PURE implant. And that's because, as you will see as we go along, that these implants both share the same body, the same outer design of the implant, but the prosthetic head changes. And in our next training session, we will be talking in more detail about the PURE implant. Well, as it says, dentists have spoken, and for implants to be the standard of care in dentistry, they must be several things. They must be affordable, and they must be of high quality, and they must be easy to use. Well, we've listened to the dentists who have told us these things, and you will notice as we go through, and especially when your pricing is set for you, that this is a very affordable in the sense that it's a value-priced system. A number of the larger implant companies are charging, in the US, they're charging $400 or more. So this is probably a third of that. So that's one thing. High quality is certainly a keystone here at Sterngold. We produce these implants here in the US at our facility. The implants are manufactured here. The prosthetics, pretty much all of the components that you will see are manufactured here. So we're able to control the quality. Now, the TRU implant is designed for, well, very good initial stability. And to that end, you'll see these micro threads at the top. And those will, when you insert the implant, they will grab into the cortical bone and give us great initial stability. This implant actually has a double lead design. In other words, there's two threads going around here. And what that means is that the implant is inserted faster. It takes half as many turns to insert a double lead thread pattern implant as opposed to one with only a single lead. You'll also notice the aggressive self-tapping design of the threads. And this means that it will be able to self-drill and self-tap itself in very nicely to create threads in the outside of the osteotomy. And for faster integration, we have treated the surface. It's an acid etch surface we call the Osseo-S surface. And this will expedite the osseointegration. Now, the implants come in several different body diameters. There is 3.5 millimeters, 4.3, 5, and 6 millimeter diameter implant bodies. The implant lengths are 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14 millimeters. And there are two prosthetic platforms. In other words, there's a regular platform and a narrow. Now, the 3.5 millimeter TRU implant body has the narrow platform prosthetic head, whereas the 4.3, the 5, and the 6 have what we call a regular platform. And these are packaged, of course, sterile individually in a titanium tube, as we'll see, with the cover screw in the package as well. Now, Dr. Brian Jackson from Utica, New York, who's an oral implantologist, states that the aggressive thread design of the TRU implant demonstrates tremendous bone engagement and has become my #1 implant choice for immediate placement cases. So you can, if you need to, place these immediately, of course, and you can get great initial stability. Well, these are the third point we were talking about, is that they have to be easy to use. And to that end, we have made these so that you don't need to have an implant mount. In other words, it's mountless delivery. As we'll see, there's some special drivers which allow you to pick the implant up from the packaging, deliver it to the mouth, and begin to insert the implant. Now, these are positioned at bone level, and these have an internal connection. One of the nice things about this, which makes it even more economical and easy, is that we have one surgical kit for both the TRU and for the PURE implants, because the body is the same on the outside. And in fact, we will consider making additional platforms as time goes on, but we will keep to this implant body. The only thing that will change will be the prosthetic head. So in this case, we have many options open for us, but with a very simple surgical kit. Now, the TRU is compatible with Noble Biocare's conical connection. We chose that for the first prosthetic platform in this series of implants because, well, one, Noble Biocare is a very popular implant company, and they have been shifting their marketing efforts over to this conical connection. It's got an internal hex inside with a little conical area on the inside. The PURE, as we'll see and talk about in our next training session, is more compatible with the Zimmer. It is Zimmer clones. So here we see that surgical kit. Now I'm going to give you a close-up view. We're going to talk about the different tools that are in here, but these are all the surgical tools and even the tools you would need to place cover screws and so on here. It's in a very nice box, autoclavable, and it even includes, as you can see right in the middle here, a torque wrench, which is something that is often not included in surgical kits. Well, this graphic allows us to see better the layout of the kit and the tools that are included. Up in the top here are all of the drills and the tools such as taps needed for implant placement. You would always begin with a lance drill, as we'll see. We're going to go through the step-by-step procedure. There's a 2mm drill to, once you've pierced the cortical plate with the lance drill, we would then begin with a starter drill, the 2mm, and then we'll go to the 3 if we're going to place a 3mm drill to place the 3.5. We would enlarge the osteotomy to a 3.8mm drill if we're going to place the 4.3mm implant. A 4.5 drill is your final drill for the 5mm. And if you wanted to place a 6mm implant, you would continue to enlarge the osteotomy with the 5.5mm drill. Now we show here there are taps for each of those diameter implants. And the reason for the taps is that you may find yourself in very dense bone, particularly in the anterior of the mandible. So you may, in order to not exceed 55 Newton centimeters of torque, you may need to tap. And therefore, that would be an additional step needed just before implant placement, where you could tap some threads into the side wall of the osteotomy. Well, here is the torque wrench, which we can use for implant placement, of course. We have 4 paralleling pins. Those, of course, are very helpful when trying to align the position of the implants. You'll notice that these paralleling pins do not only go into the hole in the bone to show us the path, but they also are designed as depth gauges. There is a drill extender here. If you happen to be next to another natural tooth, placing the implant next to a tooth, you may need to have a longer drill, and so this extender does that to keep the handpiece, the surgical handpiece, from contacting that tooth. The thumb knob here is basically a hand tool that goes on the end of any 4mm square tool. Therefore, it makes any tool a hand driver. This is our 48 thousandths inch latch driver. This would be used for cover screws, and it's used for a lot of the prosthetics as well. The actual drivers for the TRU implant are here, one for the narrow platform and the other for the regular platform. Now we have the pure driver down here. These drivers are latch style, so they'd go into your surgical handpiece. However, if you were going to drive them with this torque wrench, for instance, this takes 4mm square tools, so there is this latch to square adapter, which you can put on any of the latch tools, and then you can take and put them into a driver that uses 4mm square tools. You will notice a few empty grommets in the kit, and these are there for future expansion, as we may add some other prosthetic platforms, or if you happen to have a favorite tool which you prefer to use, another drill or so on. Well, here are the steps for placing the implants. The first step, of course, is we need to clear the implant site. You could use a tissue punch. You could use a minimal flap if you're just placing smaller implants, or you may want to use a full thickness flap with releasing incisions if you're placing a number of implants, so that you can identify all of the important structures, the mental nerve as it comes out of the metal foramen. In the case of the anterior, we'd want to identify all of those important structures. So however you would like this will be dictated by the number of implants, the width of the bone, and the type of surgery you're doing. Now that we've gained access to the bone, you can penetrate that cortical plate using the lance drill. In the past, a lot of companies have used a round burr for this process, but we find this pointed lance drill actually does a very nice job at gaining access through the cortical plate and being able to therefore give us a starting point for all the drills that will follow. Now we're going to use a 2mm drill to give us the basic depth of the implant. In other words, here there are depth markings. You can see laser etched markings here and here. There's markings at 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14 millimeters. So you would drill a pilot hole to the proper depth. Of course, through any of the drilling steps, we would use irrigation. We need to control the temperature with all of our preparations here, with all of our surgery. So you would want to do this for any of your drilling or even your tapping, and a lot of people will do this even with the placement of the implant. So into the first osteotomy, you would place a paralleling pin and now use that to guide you to the alignment for the second implant site. There you can see the laser etched markings on the drill a little better. That's our 2mm. Now we need to enlarge the hole to the proper diameter to accept the particular implant that we are placing. So you would use the 3mm drill if you're placing a 3.5mm, that would be the narrow platform TRU implants. And that's your final drilling step. If you were in very dense bone, you could create some threads in the side wall of that osteotomy by using the 3.5mm bone tap. This is a special bone tap because the implants have a double thread on them, a double lead. You must have a tap that would create the same double thread design. And of course, because the outside of the TRU and the PURE are identical, this same tap would be used no matter which implant you're placing. This step, of course, is done very slowly, 10 revolutions per minute, or some people go even slower. We would use irrigation. And of course, once you tapped some threads into the osteotomy, you must hit the reverse button in order to back the tap out of the bone. And this will be a step we'll do as an option in very dense bone for any of the implants. Now, if you wanted to place a 4.3mm TRU implant, you would continue. You would drill and enlarge the osteotomy with the 3.8mm drill. And once again, in dense bone, you could use the tap, the proper tap, the 4.3mm tap to create threads in the side wall of the osteotomy. For the 5, you would continue to expand the osteotomy using the 4.5mm drill, and then you would place the implant. That's the final drilling step, unless, of course, you need to use a tap for dense bone. And for the 6, you would use the final drill, which is the 5.5mm drill, in order to place the 6mm TRU implants. And you can see the depth markings there quite well because of the width of that drill. Now, the implants are packaged in a box in which you'll find a double blister. Here we can see the inner blisters. The double blister package has been taken from the box, and the Tyvek label has been peeled back. That allows you to drop the inner blister onto the sterile field. So normally this step would be done, the opening of the box and the opening of the outer blister would be done with the someone with non-sterile gloves. They could be, and then from here on it would be handled with someone with sterile gloves. Now you can peel back the label, the cover on the inner blister, and you would upright the titanium tube which holds the implant, and there is a depression right in the plastic blister, and you can seat it in there so that it holds the implant upright. Here's where you would use those special implant drivers. Because we have made this mountless, you just take the proper implant driver. For the TRU, it would either be the narrow platform or the regular platform driver, and you would just press it into the implant. It friction fits into the inside of the implant, and it engages the internal hex. Now you're going to be able to carry this, lift it out of the tube, and carry it to the implant site. You would then drive this into the bone, once again using relatively slow speed, 15 to 20 RPMs, and we don't want the torque to exceed 55 Newton centimeters. So once again, here you'd use the 3.5 driver for the narrow platform 3.5 TRU, and the regular platform driver for the 4.3, 5, and 6mm TRU implants. Once the implant is completely seated, we can see that it is flush with the surface of the bone. You can just pull upward to remove the driver from the implant. Now here you would need to make a decision. The cover screw, the TRU cover screw, which is packaged with the implants, would be used if you were going to use the implants and create a two-stage surgery. In other words, we would put the cover screw on, tighten it with the 48 thousandths inch hex driver. That's the thumb knob on top of that driver. And you can hand tighten this. You can then suture the tissue over it and let it heal. However, if you would like this to be a one-stage surgery, you could choose the appropriate height TRU healing abutment. These are a little taller than the cover screws, and it allows this to come through the tissue. So once again, you'd tighten that with the 48 thousandths hex driver, and you would have some sutures to close around the healing abutment. Now after healing, we would need to select the proper restorative option. Here at the bottom level, we see several overdenture abutments. So if you were going to restore the patient with a removable overdenture, you could use the E-array abutment. Here's the O-array abutment, a ball with an O-ring. These are stern snaps, the 0-degree stern snap, and the angle correction stern snap. So we get straight and angled of those. So these vary basically by their size, and they vary a little bit by their function. And we have other training for those types of abutments. If you were going to make some sort of a hybrid, or if you're going to cast a bridge on here, you could use UCLA style abutments here in the middle aisle. There's plastic, both engaging, see we've got the hex on the bottom to engage, or non-engaging. If you're connecting two or more implants in a bridge or a bar structure, then you would not need to use the engaging. You'd use the non-engaging. And we have titanium ones for these as well. For these are often useful for temporary hybrids where you're actually processing an acrylic denture around these for a temporary hybrid solution. There are impression copings for these, and of course these are straight abutments, so you could literally prepare those a bit and cement a crown right over them. So the UCLAs would be for something that would be a screw retained prosthesis, fixed prosthesis. These would be for a cement retained fixed prosthesis, and our removables at the bottom. So we have a complete line. Here is another graphic which shows us even more. These are impression copings here with a short screw that just comes to the top, which you could use if you're using a closed tray impression technique. Here with a longer screw, if you would prefer to use this as an open tray technique. You've got healing abutments, you've got those straight abutments here. Here's the UCLAs, engaging, and so on, healing abutments. So we have a full array of prosthetics for these implants. Now, Dr. Matthew Hallis, who's from Green Bay, Wisconsin, he's a surgical prosthodontist, states that the TRU implant has a versatile body design, allowing predictable implant placement in healed sites with the added ability to attain high primary stability in immediate implant placement procedures. It has a straightforward drilling protocol, simplifying the surgical procedure for both the clinician and the patient. Well, as I say, we've listened to dentists, we've listened to various practitioners around the world, and we've answered the call. with the design and introduction of the TRU, and in a short while we'll also be introducing the TRU implant. In review, we know that this is precision quality, here made right here in our facility in Attleboro, Massachusetts in the USA. It is available at a value price, which allows us and you to be more competitive with our some of the larger competitors that we would be working against. And they are very simple, as you can see, very simple to use, simple surgical kit, yet a very predictable performance because of the design of the implant. So this is a premium implant restorative platform. In other words, we've chosen popular implant platforms that will be popular with many of the dentists currently using implants around the world. So it allows us to give them comfort by allowing them to be familiar with the type of prosthetics that would be used on these. And of course, the mountless delivery design once again makes this easier and quicker. Well, that's our training session for today on the TRU implant system. You can see my email address there, james.ellison@sterngold.com. Of course, you will, as we get these up and running, be able to find more information on our website. And of course, you can always call. So that is the end of our training session on the TRU implants. Thank you for taking your time.